Welcome to the Four Corners Podcast. My name is Kamari Johnson. I'm joined here with Isaac, Brevin, and Rudy. Today we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving, kind of the history of it, and just giving our opinions on some of the foods that might be traditional or not traditional. Brevin, do you want to start us off today?
Yeah, I surely would. The history of Thanksgiving, it's so deep and it's a large part of American culture today. It's kind of sewn into a lot of American households and families because it's a feast, right? It's something to bring the family together. And the history of Thanksgiving goes back quite a long ways, back to even 1578 with the first English settlers in Newfoundland up in Canada. And they had a feast because their voyage from England was so perilous that they decided to thank God for arriving. And I think that says something about the journey here alone is so troublesome and difficult that people are willing to come together in community and kind of thank God, thank a higher power for allowing them to arrive here in a land of opportunity. As the holiday develops, it kind of turns from local tradition from the natives with the corn festivals, and then the mice as the Spaniards arrive. And so what happens is after the Revolutionary War in 1789, George Washington holds a relatively significant Thanksgiving, and it was focused on the community values of the Plymouth settlers in 1621. 1621 and 1602 are really important years for English and European settlers in North America because they've settled a permanent colony, which has almost never been done by Anglo settlers at that point. And the issues at the time were faced with plague and disease and famine. And so the idea of having a feast is really significant to them because it's a large part of having a home. You want some bread. Iconically, it's bread, the breaking of bread between tribes. Unfortunately, you'd see later on that the Virginians would have some real difficulties getting along with the natives, and so the controversy comes into play when the Virginians break out into war, and also in Massachusetts, the same happens with the Pequot people. And the Pequot War takes place around the 1620s, and as it breaks out, the massacre of a whole tribe takes place, and it's horrible, it's horrific. But what the takeaway is from that is that they celebrate the holiday out of blood, and today we have transitioned the holiday into something of love and unity, which I think is really powerful and speaks for itself.
Not for sure. I feel like, trying to celebrate anything, like how it kind of starts as like a special thing, right? We're coming together, we're having a feast, like it's a big event where people of different ethnicities, cultures can kind of come together, right? And then kind of change that into something to enable, like war or just like anything negative. It's never really like a good thing to see. Yeah. So then that's why I kind of like how we transition into like family meal. It's more of a togetherness, right? Thankfulness. We're thankful for just being here. Thankful for having our people around us. It's not about actually giving people gifts or, it's just a good time to be around each other, especially during like the colder months, where it's like, it's already kind of gloomy, depressing. And then you have some like a warm meal, family, friends to kind of warm you back up. I feel like it's very beautiful, honestly. Just jumping into it. But Rudy, do you have anything you want to add to the kind of just the history of Thanksgiving at all?
Well, about the history is really interesting about, especially with the food. Like modern day food and Thanksgiving wasn't relatively similar to what they first had with the Pilgrims and the natives, the Indians. Some older fellows may say, that. Like, for example, they would eat, instead of turkey, what we eat nowadays, they would eat waterfowls. Like, think of
like
ducks, ducks,
geese, pigeons, all those.
Yeah, all that stuff. Nothing. They wouldn't consider turkey as for like the main dish until around 1827, And when this publisher, this author, released this book, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was about like traditions and stuff.
Yeah.
Where this author talked about it, and one main thing about it was how they ate turkey as like a main dish up in like the New England area of like the United States, where and it became much more popular during like the 1860s when the president of the United States then, what we know as Abraham Lincoln, and R.I.P. the penny, he became basically declared Thanksgiving an official federal holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm like. I was gonna kind of like add on to that, just like saying I'm pretty sure all of that was like around the same time, you know, because Abraham Lincoln, he was a big turkey guy, you know,
Yeah.
and turkey was very common, you know, kind of like how we have, you know, pigeons running around, chickens, seagulls, all those things. So, kind of just having that being said, he was like a big advocate. So like I'm pretty sure during the Civil War, I read on the Britannica by David Silverman, I think in November 3rd, 2025. He Abraham Lincoln actually made Thanksgiving a national holiday during the Civil War, kind of to ease up the tension, just because of how, you know, messed up war is, you know, for bystanders and just everyday folk, you know. So just to have like a beacon of hope, he decided to make it a holiday where everybody can kind of come together instead of breaking each other apart, right?
Yeah, there's actually the history is interesting because you mentioned Abraham Lincoln with he kind of really codified a lot of the modern things we know about Thanksgiving because of the feast of the White House. And I actually have a primary source. Now there's this book called the White House Cookbook from 1887. It was written by this homekeeper who actually never worked at the White House named F.L. Gillette.
Yeah.
But she had help from this dude, Hugo Zeman, who actually was a White House steward at the time. So let's just say they had a much broader palette in the Victorian era. They ate a lot of things that we don't necessarily associate with Thanksgiving. There's some other stuff that's more crazy that they just ate in general, but this is what they had on the Thanksgiving menu of that cookbook. And they had all sorts of stuff in that cookbook, like president's favorite meals and whatnot, and what they'd have at different celebrations. And the White House Thanksgiving dinner is like, you know, is pretty famous, right? But they actually had a different conception of dinner back in that day. For them, dinner was sort of like a midday meal, and it was just supposed to be the biggest meal of the day. So technically, you could eat dinner at any time. It was just the biggest meal of the day.
Yeah.
Whereas supper, sometimes we use dinner and supper as synonyms these days, but supper back then was a very light, kind of informal evening meal, and they'd usually have like desserts and stuff. So in the cookbook, they have breakfast, dinner, and supper as opposed to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So for breakfast, they recommended cod fish balls. I'm assuming that's cod cooked into balls, right?
Yeah.
Like chopped up. And basically like baked and fried. Actually doesn't sound that bad, but they would serve that alongside steak and then pair it with buckwheat cakes and oat flakes, which is not really like the most, we don't really think of that as like the most logical pairing, especially for Thanksgiving. It's kind of like a random spread, but you know, that was kind of considered like a fancy breakfast back in the day. So I guess the buckwheat trend for fancy dinners hasn't really like gone away, because I feel like people are getting more into that these days, actually, you know, away from white bread and stuff. For dinner, they actually had oysters on the half shell. Now, oysters were a really common food back in the Victorian era, just in general, but especially for celebrations. It was kind of expected that you just have a ton of them for appetizers as a side. Back when the oyster population was so numerous that you could just send a trawler out and to like an oyster reef, and it would gather up nets and nets of oysters, and they were sold for very cheap. But that actually led to a decline in the oyster population. So these days oysters are pretty expensive, and it's also kind of like led to some environmental degradation, but you know, story of our time, right? In addition to those oysters, they have parsnip fritters and fried smelt, which don't actually seem that bad. Fried smelt, that smelt is basically like a little silvery fish,
Yeah.
similar to anchovies or sardines, but it's got a milder flavor. I basically think they were sort of like fish fingers, if you know you're familiar.
Yeah.
But the cookbook recommends that you leave the heads on when you cook them. So, you know, ye old fish fingers were for dinner, and then for supper they had just a bunch of desserts. Basically, they had eclairs, preserved plums, shortcake, and then they would also eat. And throughout this whole time period, turkey was like a staple of all these foods. They would have had cold turkey from before, and uh, some of those oysters made into a casserole, which actually sounds pretty good. I might try that sometime, but not really the type of thing that we think of when we think of Thanksgiving, unless you're maybe from Louisiana. I guess some people, you know, eat oysters.
Yeah.
There's also this great collection of vintage menus that the New York Public Library actually has. That's called the Butoff Collection, because it was owned originally by a dude named Butoff, but he basically donated all of his vintage menus, and they're from the entire like 1800s. And what was a consistent theme in those menus was there was a lot more game meat, so like venison, rabbit, hare, that sort of thing. And then it was also really common to serve turtle soup. Now that seems a bit weird today. Like people know about turtle soup, but it's not like a thing that most people eat unless you're again from maybe like the Delta or like Louisiana or something.
Yeah.
So especially because a lot of turtle species are endangered these days, and that's because they used to be really common food that people would eat. They would actually serve green sea turtles. Now, if you don't know, there's like seven species of sea turtles, but green sea turtles were used mainly as this food, but they could have used any. And it was prized because turtles kind of like this flavorless meat, but it has a nice texture, and so it let the cook make this like a really flavorful stock and experiment with the texture and everything. And it was considered like this great luxury. People in England were going crazy over it. It was a big thing in mainland Europe in general, and that kind of carried over to the New World and everything. But over time, turtle populations declined just like the oysters, and so now people don't really eat turtle soup anymore. At least not green sea turtle soup, because you know, first of all, it's illegal because it's an endangered animal, but also
Yeah.
because there's just not enough of them to you know make that anymore.
Exactly.
Uh, But again, like I mentioned before, the classics that we know, like, or at least classics since the 1800s, like turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, that all that stuff was there. Personally, I'm a fan of most of the Thanksgiving foods, but I know Kamari, you kind of disagree with turkey's kind of spot,
You
as
know,
the premier entree.
Yeah, just hopping into that one, we can hop into our traditional foods. For me personally, turkey, it's a good thing to have. It's obviously traditional. It's a staple of Thanksgiving, right? I just feel like the way it's prepared, it's not. It doesn't make sense, right? You're roasting a full turkey. You constantly have to watch it, and stuffing it, doing it the traditional way. You never really get an even cook. I'm a foodie, I guess you can say. So like, I'd rather the whole bird be edible. Not have like dry breast meat with decent legs and thighs, or then you have what maybe you have good juicy breast meat, but now you have what undercooked wings, or it's just never going to be right. And so I actually did some research on a couple of different methods on how to cook turkey. And spatchcocking, right? So this is basically a method where they remove the spine, kind of crack the ribs so the bird is on a more flat, like plane, and it gives a more even cook. So actually, from Serious Eats, Kenji Lopez Alt, he's a chef, and he was saying how spatchcocking a turkey is actually the best way to cook it, just because it actually reduces cook time, and it reduces the amount of time you actually have to watch the turkey. So then you have more time to prepare other dishes, right? So all your sides, everybody loves, right, macaroni, the dressing. Obviously, you won't have stuffing if you spatchcock the turkey. But dressing and stuffing is pretty similar, a little different. I know everybody has their opinions on that too.
Yeah, my dad actually spatchcocked the turkey last year, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But I actually heard that stuffing the turkey could be dangerous because of like salmonella or whatever. Like the stuffing doesn't get cooked as much.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever's gonna keep
I
us
mean,
safe.
it is a risk we're willing to take sometimes, right? For some good stuffing. But I could see your point.
Yeah.
You know, the spatchcock, it's a unique way of cooking it, and if it reduces the time too, that's really important, especially for parties. You know,
Yeah.
you got a lot to do,
That
a lot
was
of food to
big.
get out. Yeah, and it's a really hard cycle.
Yeah, definitely. Another food that's typically traditional is the pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like it's like the only time we see pumpkin pie is during Thanksgiving fall season. I feel like it should be more acceptable to have it out more common in the commonplace. Like pumpkin pie is like right next to apple pie. It's quite American, and it's like quite traditional too. So like we always see it during Thanksgiving. That's the only time I see it. Maybe Christmas, depending on where you may get it, if you make it,
Yeah.
So
hard to agree. I love pumpkin pie. I was literally eating a quarter of a pumpkin pie on my way to school today. It's just like it's just a great little dish. You don't think it should be like a Thanksgiving food though?
like it shouldn't be just a dedicated Thanksgiving food. It should be more acceptable to have it outside of Thanksgiving. Be creative about it. Like
Yeah.
for example, so there used to be commonplace to actually cook the custard in the pumpkin pie, not having a pumpkin puree and the custard in a pie shell.
Yeah.
That should be also like another way to present a pumpkin pie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
But
definitely get it.
strong
yeah.
flavor, right?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I love pumpkin pie too. I just feel like I'm gonna pose you guys real quick. Just the, he's like, but I mean, just like thinking about pumpkin pie though, right? You think about pumpkins, you only think about fall. The end of the year, that's when you see pumpkins. And from my understanding, I don't know like the cycle of harvesting and growing pumpkins. I only ever see them during fall. So it's like now I'm not gonna say there aren't any during the other times of the year. Probably not. But I just feel like it is so traditionally fall. Maybe we can extend it to Christmas, have it there, maybe a little bit before around Halloween.
Yeah.
But I just feel like October, November, December is like the pumpkin months, almost.
Right.
So like again, can you have it outside of that? Of course. People like people. I actually work at Solano. They ask for pumpkin spice throughout the year. It's like it's a fall thing.
Yeah, it definitely
For
is.
me, I feel like it's a fall thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they sort of push the limit with pumpkin spice too.
Oh yeah.
Pumpkin spice is pumpkin. It's unique, but they definitely push the limits. There's a
Yeah.
boundary, right?
Yeah.
And
I heavily disagree. We aren't like, oh, butternut squash is only for fall time. We got butternut squash all year long. We should have pumpkin all year long. There doesn't need to be this arbitrary change. And if you don't associate pumpkin pie or pumpkin spice like the cinnamon and the allspice
Yeah.
or whatever, if you don't think that should be like a springtime thing, then just put springtime seasonings in the pumpkin pie on.
Just
Yeah.
spring season is why
Spring
not?
season, right?
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
Let's just make seasonal flavors of pumpkin pie.
A pumpkin pie for every season. That's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Pumpkin pie for every season.
I'll approve that.
Okay, yeah. Honestly, I feel like a couple other things, because like with the spatchcock method, right, kind of just to bounce off of that,
Yeah.
it's to kind of save time, make things easier. I feel like some things need its time taken, right?
Yeah.
Like, why do I go to a store, right, and we go get a can of cranberry sauce? You know what I mean? It's like you drop it out, you got the little cylinder of cranberry, and it doesn't taste good, yeah. But I just feel like there's certain things like that where a little bit of elbow grease kind of enhances the meal. Like,
Okay.
what do I look like serving all of my special guests this one day a year meal, something out of a can? I just feel like that's a little, and there's other stuff like that too. We have to go all out. The mac, the potato salad. Like, do you guys think potato salad should be a part of that? No.
It can be part of it, but it's not like a Thanksgiving.
It's not
food,
like
you know.
I think it's
specific
probably like a
event,
step
yeah.
too far, right?
A step too
Do
far.
y'all
I
like
think
the
potato salad is definitely springtime.
Yeah.
It's a picnic food.
picnic food?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Barbecue.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I have it during barbecue. Same with mac salad. A lot of
Okay.
people think mac salad is also
Mac
one of those
salad,
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like the salad's probably not specifically Thanksgiving, but definitely like something that you can enjoy.
Right.
So wait, do y'all support cranberry sauce just in general?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I
I
like
mean-
the taste.
It's like I said, it's pretty good. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not. All right, give me a slice of that can. Can.
Well,
cranberry
it's
sauce.
a delicious Jello, right?
Yeah.
It's a glorified Jello, and has a little bit of texture, and it complements the turkey. So if you do some turkey, some gravy, and you throw on some cranberry sauce,
Yeah.
it might sound disgusting, but I can promise you, it's something worth waiting for every season.
I'm not a fan. I usually just eat it out of pity, so it's not like left over when all the waste gets thrown away.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff like I feel like there's a lot of dishes like that. It just depends who's making it too. Not everybody can cook, honestly.
Yeah.
Like for me, I feel like we cook things pretty good. But there's also like other like plain sides that I just feel like shouldn't be there.
Mhm.
You
Right.
know, personally, I'm not a coleslaw person.
Okay.
I'm not. I don't think. Don't give me any coleslaw.
I think I can agree with you there, especially on Thanksgiving. Coleslaw is light. It's a cabbage dish
Yeah.
that's made for summer. It's refreshing, right? And you want something hearty. So if you think about it, what's the best dish next to turkey? I say ham. I think ham is perhaps one of the best meats for Thanksgiving. And the reason is it's just so hearty. John Steinman from the Farmers Co-op even suggests the same thing. He says that over 300 million tons of turkey are consumed each holiday season, and I think that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Especially just in America, right? That's a lot, and the produce that we consume alongside it creates a whole business. And so when you have turkey, you want something to complement it, right? And so you have your ham. It's sweet, it has a little bit of tang to it, and it's salty. Whereas a turkey can sometimes be light in flavor, and it relies sometimes on a little bit of gravy, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think? What do you think about ham?
I've always thought ham should be like, should honestly just replace the turkey. It's just always more juicy, more tasty, especially if you get like the salty honey crust on it or whatever.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Put some mashed potatoes on, that shit is good.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for
Oh,
sure.
it's delicious.
And I feel like ham definitely should be like the centerpiece. Obviously, having the bird there, it's it's traditional. You carve it, you get the wishbone, make the wish. I always got the short end of the stick. You know what I'm saying? Never was that lucky. But at least with the ham though, just the way people prep it too. Like I personally have heard a lot of people say they don't like honeyed ham. With the honey glaze.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
pineapples, and which is like I get it, but I just
not
feel like.
everybody's right. So,
True,
yeah.
I'm like, I feel like, are we all honey ham people in here?
what you
Honey-
Honey
We
ham.
honey
You
ham?
sound a
or-
little
A bit of
quiet.
pineapple.
he's like, I don't know.
Call me a heretic. I'm not really that much of a
Okay.
fan of.
So what's your opinion then on ham?
Honestly,
Is
I'm
there
more.
something you dislike?
Honestly, I'm more of a savory. But I'm not the type of person who likes sweet and savory.
Yeah.
So I prefer like A or B, not A B.
Oh, nice.
Nah,
okay.
that's
Yeah.
respectable.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
The
I'm-
cranberry sauce is okay.
The
Yeah,
cranberry
it's kind of like. There's some. I don't mind eating it just if given the option. To,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've thought, I just realized that people cook a whole bird because it's impressive, but like imagine how impressive a whole pig would be. You pull that thing out, slam it on the table,
Yeah.
just like a medieval feast. You can put an apple in its mouth.
Oh yeah.
delicious.
If I go to somebody's house, right,
Yeah.
and I walk in, right, I'm like, where's the turkey? They're like, we're not having turkey this year. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, they got a ham or something, some maybe a chicken, some Cornish hens, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then you walk in, you see the fully glazed roasted ham, just
There you go.
spinning,
Yeah.
I'm like, it'd be almost cinematic,
Oh, it's
'cause
teasing you.
it's literally something you've almost never
You
seen.
could feed the whole block like that, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you have like one of those big, like
Like
because
a block party.
the pigs get big.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you see them online, you probably see them roast like the small ones,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
But if you really like roast one of the big ones,
Yeah.
you guys are
Well-
eating for like a while.
Well, how big? Like over 2,000 pounds big?
Well, that would be some pig, right?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I don't even
But,
know if we'd be able to hoist that one up.
Yeah, I don't even think that'd be a record setter.
Yeah,
for sure.
That'd
definitely.
be impressive.
A pig of 4 pigs.
Oh yeah. Oh
Alright.
yeah. Plenty to eat.
I'm sure there's been a pig that's gone 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
There's probably been some big pigs, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially for Thanksgiving, some cured ham goes
Oh,
a
yeah.
long way, right?
Yeah.
It was even
Sure.
considered like luck. So if you give family or friends some pork, a pig, bone in medieval times, that was good luck. You could make it through the winter season.
Yep, definitely.
No famine for you.
Yeah, no family. Look at me.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
I feel like before we jump into the next section, let me ask you guys a quick question, because Thanksgiving is about the feast, right? We have all this food, and there's always leftovers. When is it acceptable to throw out the leftovers? Because there has to be an expiration date, because I shouldn't, my birthday's in January. I shouldn't be leaving Thanksgiving leftovers on my birthday weekend. You know what I mean? Like, you got turkey sandwiches all the way in January, right? So when do you guys think, like, is it like Christmas time, December? Like, when do you guys think we should throw it up?
Honestly, I feel like freeze what you're not gonna eat within the first week of December,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then you can thaw that out when you need to.
Yeah. It's like hibernation, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
And
Kinda.
that pork's gonna wake up next spring and you're gonna eat it then.
Gotta have like your own TV dinners,
Yeah.
Kinda
Exactly.
package it up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
meal prep it. I just feel like for the most part, if it's not being frozen, maybe a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe. If it's refrigerated right,
Yeah.
just slice some ham,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
turkey.
I can see that.
Some
Yeah.
mac maybe.
When we had Thanksgiving in my house, there was always leftover sweet potato casserole because I didn't eat my share of it. I don't know what it is. I came from a family that was formerly Mormon. We're not Mormon anymore, but they just go crazy for sweet potato casserole. It's big in the South and everything. I've never been a fan of it. I know that my house's personal leftovers would be significantly reduced if we just stopped making it, because it's just marshmallows on sweet potatoes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's cool, right?
Yeah, but it's like, if you're gonna eat something like that, first of all, it's a dessert. It's not a side. People say like, oh, maybe as a dessert. You literally add like sugar on top of your already like really sweet potato. Like, just make it like a real savory sweet potato dish,
Yeah.
or just eat that as like a dessert some other time when I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Well, it's significant though because it's a traditional dish, right? And so you kind of see it around the table.
Well, I disagree with that because I was looking it up, and apparently I saw the Savor article by Leslie Porcelli, I think. She wrote, I think this was like from 2011, like November. Apparently, the Angelus Marshmallow Company actually invented sweet potato casserole, and the people were making casseroles with sweet potato before this.
Yeah.
The casserole is just like something made in a casserole dish, but before then, basically marshmallow casserole with the sweet potatoes, that wasn't a thing because they needed a reason for people to buy marshmallows, because it was like this new invention. Nobody was like eating marshmallows, so they basically just made this recipe and it was easy, so they marketed it to housewives at the time. So it was invented in like 1917, I think, is when the cookbook came out. But,
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Full
but
history on that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously a lot of people like it, so I'm not gonna rail on it too hard. I've had a long beef with sweet potatoes in general. I just don't like how they taste.
Yeah, you're in like a sustained fight with it.
Exactly, but I understand when people like it.
Do
The
you
marshmallows are
do
just excessive.
sweet potatoes or yams?
Well, yams are a different story. Yams can be good. Like if you're talking about like ube or African yams, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And for me at least, because those have a bit of a milder flavor. Something about sweet potatoes in particular, it's just got this really weird, like it's sweet, but it's not sweet in like a good way, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
That's just my opinion though.
It just doesn't sit well on your palate. Right?
Basically.
Yeah. Well, I think even in like 1942, Norman Rockwell, his oil painting, and it's pretty significant. It's the family sitting around the table and they're carving the turkey.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably the most iconic picture of Thanksgiving and painting in American history. And it's kind of a big part of our culture now because that's how we picture it, right? The white cloth on the table and everybody seated around. He's at the end of the table and carving the turkey. But then you also have the sides, and the sides are such a big part of the feast. that I feel like they've kind of overtaken the primary meats, right? So you have your turkey and ham, but then you have all these sides.
Yeah.
And yams is just one part of it. So just because you don't like that, there's plenty more to go off of, right? And yeah, are there any other sides you don't agree with, or any ones in particular that you like?
Honestly, most of the Thanksgiving sides I do like, so
Yeah.
it's really just the sweet potato casserole.
Just the sweet potatoes?
Basic.
Most of the traditional ones,
Mashed potatoes is good.
Yeah. Oh, mashed potatoes, mac, all
Yeah.
those. I
Oh,
love them.
delicious,
Those
right?
I love them. Yeah. Honestly, I feel like we can kind of jump into the third section, right? Kind of some of those unconventional foods,
Oh, yeah.
I'll kick us off with one of the foods I feel like. Now, I'm not gonna speak for every black person. I just feel like it's almost a black staple from a lot of people I've talked to. With the desserts, we've eaten a lot of 7-Up cake, right? And I don't know where it started, I've always eaten it for Thanksgiving. Everybody's I've been to, they've had it. And then I'd go to some of my other friends' houses, different races, different backgrounds. And I'd be like, man, they're not serving no 7-Up cake. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, is this kind of like one of those, like an insider thing? Maybe it's just the people around me. I'm not sure.
It could be.
I mean, how do you guys feel about 7-Up cake for Thanksgiving? Is that like a no-go, or?
I don't know, for some reason I feel like cake is a little sacrilegious. I don't understand why, because it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, they used to be eating all sorts of cakes back in the day, but I feel like it just doesn't jive as well with the whole textural palette,
It's-
you could say, of
It's
Thanksgiving.
definitely, yeah, like pie is kind of gritty, it's hearty, they have that crust, and it's a bit harder to bite into, right? You have to go through a little more effort to make it. But I don't discount cake, because cake is delicious, and I think it definitely plays a part in pretty much every single holiday, right?
Yeah.
I'm just not as much of a cake fan
I guess,
personally,
yeah.
so maybe that influences my opinion. But I mean, honestly, I would try the 7-Up cake, especially. I don't know how your family prepared it, but maybe it goes good.
So is a 7-Up cake sort of like a bundt cake?
It's kind of like a little bit, kind of a pound cake as well.
Okay.
It's like in between almost.
Okay.
Obviously, has like that 7-Up flavor. And then it just depends on like either we buy it from the store or if we make it ourselves. You'll have like a different type of glaze almost. Because I'm not too into sweets anymore. It was like mainly when I was younger, but it was always just something like I needed it on the plate, right, with the mac. We have the potato salad. All the good things that I wanted. Thick slices of ham.
Yeah.
A little turkey, but like how we assemble the plate. But I needed the 7-Up cake when I was
Right.
younger. Yeah. Obviously, as I'm older, like I don't eat too many sweets anymore, but a good slice of 7-Up cake, always go a long way for me at least.
Yeah.
So, so Rudy, you got any like untraditional foods that you want to talk about?
Well, I know this is kind of like in like gray area of untraditional food, but I feel like macaroni should be more popular in the holiday season,
Yeah.
like in Thanksgiving. I feel uh, like even though there are families who do make macaroni and cheese, I feel like we should make it more of a commonplace.
Yeah, like a bigger emphasis on
bigger
the mac.
emphasis,
Yeah,
because
Kamara
like
was trying to sneak it in there in
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
traditional section, but my family has never really had like macaroni and cheese for Thanksgiving,
really?
so I do think it's like one of those cultural things. They
Okay.
did have this thing called Mormon salad, which I can talk about that later when I get to my thing, but
Yeah.
you just be thankful that you don't have to eat Mormon salad at Thanksgiving. Anyway, Rudy, continue.
well, because macaroni and cheese is not relatively as popular as other items like mashed potatoes, which are relatively easy to make. Macaroni is kind of like one of those things similar to like making your own cranberry sauce. You do need to put some effort into it.
Yeah.
It's not like those like Kraft mac and cheese
Yeah,
boxes.
nah.
My ass would not be making some Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Oh yeah, we wouldn't even let that fly. You bring us some regular mac and cheese. It's
Yeah.
like
Right.
you make it first, you bake it, have it in a nice pan,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
with the
definitely.
crispy edges.
Yeah.
That's when it's really good.
It's a
you know?
texture thing.
You're a baked mac and cheese proponent for Thanksgiving?
Oh, for Thanksgiving, yes. Mac and cheese, we can have it any other way throughout the year. Thanksgiving is that special day.
Yeah.
We need it to be baked. If it's not baked where the edges are crispy, you have that nice hard top layer.
Right.
There's no point in bringing it.
Yeah.
We're not gonna eat it. We're gonna have the paper plate. We're gonna fold it. and throw it in the trash. You know what I'm
Oh, yeah,
saying?
if it's baked, I can accept that.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
saying. Like, definitely baked. Now, once we try to stray away from just traditional mac and cheese, that's when it kind of gets a
Little
little
risky.
tricky. I've seen now. I hope these are just jokes. Um, it was like a little trend for a while. People were talking about chitlins, right? Chitterlings, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Some pig
Intestines, right?
pig intestines, yeah.
Yeah.
My grandma loves to eat chitlins. I don't see why. The whole house, right? Sorry, Granny, I'm kind of putting you out there. But the whole house smells like a rear end.
Okay.
It almost like roasting.
Oh, it's the large intestine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So even if you clean it out,
Yeah.
it stinks,
Yeah.
right? And kind of just getting back to that, I seen a post where somebody had mac and cheese and they infused it with chitlins.
What do you mean they infused it?
Like they cooked it in like they added it in almost like if you ever had like mac mixed with other like meats, that's essentially what they did with the baked mac and cheese, but they had the chitlins in there. And I said to myself, if I ever go to anyone's house, right, I slice into that nice corner that I like, and there's chitlins in the mac and cheese, I can't associate myself with you anymore. Like we're not friends, we're not family. I don't care if we're married. We're gonna have to get divorced. Like that's just something that I could never I could never vibe with that, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just no.
You don't want to split up the family over chitlins, right? Oh yeah.
Over
He
chitlins?
will. He
I
will.
will.
Okay.
That's what I will. But yeah, man.
It's
I
a
don't know.
dangerous
That's just,
combination.
that's just one of my no-goes. So I don't
Yeah.
know. But it is something that I've seen a lot of people cook though, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
Using the whole animal, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, it's certainly a texture thing, right?
oh yeah, I think it has like almost like a noodly consistency. Maybe a
Yeah.
little chewy. Personally, like I said, I've never tried it. It smells too bad to try.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to.
Yeah, I can understand that. At a certain point when it smells so bad, so rank, it's like, do I really want to put that? Do I want to ingest that? Is that something worth trying out?
For me, no. I don't know.
It's sort of like the one chip and all that. You're kind of pushing the limits.
Oh yeah, I've definitely pushed it.
Yeah.
So like, do you have anything that's like pretty untraditional or
Texture-wise, I do. It's got to be seafood.
seafood? Oh.
Yeah. So I mean, seafood it's really, I love seafood on a regular
Yeah.
basis, but when it comes into my Thanksgiving meal, it feels like an invasion. Like it's not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
It's
I've
not
never,
the time of the year, right?
Yeah, I've never had any seafood on Thanksgiving.
Really?
Maybe oysters.
Yeah.
They might have barbecued some.
Okay.
Had like some cooked oysters, but
Yeah.
nah. Other than that, I've never seen any seafood.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of crazy too because an article from October of 2020, it was published by Catherine Lamb. It stated that eels and other fish that were shellfish, so they had lobsters, eels, and they had fish at the first Thanksgiving meal. So that was in 1621, right? The official first Anglo-American first Thanksgiving meal. And I think that it makes sense, right? You're eating it out of necessity at the time.
Yeah.
But we've evolved, our Thanksgiving since then. Our concept of Thanksgiving has kind of moved forward. And so when you have, hearty turkey, ham, you got your mac and cheese. And mac and cheese, I've done lobster mac. It tastes quite good, actually.
Yeah. I love lobster mac.
But
yeah.
when you start involving shellfish, it's sort of a dangerous combination, right? It's sort of a clash of flavors. And the texture of shellfish, especially like oysters, they're a little slimy sometimes, but they're soft, right? You bite into them and there's very little chew, and they kind of slither down.
Oh,
It doesn't go down well.
Yeah.
And then there's other things, seafood boils. They're delicious, but they come in spring, right? They come February through May.
Yeah.
That's sort of the time for your boils. So crawfish boils, which are delicious, by the way. I think if you tried to pull off something like a shrimp or a crawfish boil, or even a mussel boil, that wouldn't work for Thanksgiving, right? Because it's the same type of event to bring the family together,
Yeah.
but it's a different flavor and it's sort of a different kind of environment, right? Because if you ever been to one where you pull out like a plastic bib?
Oh
and you
yeah.
just- yeah,
get
you
the
go to
bib,
town.
got the bag.
Yeah.
like,
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
know.
like you're going to war with that food.
Oh yeah, no, it gets messy.
Oh,
Don't bring your best clothes.
Oh,
at all.
exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, look, roll your sleeves up. We get
Yeah.
busy. That's what I'm saying. But I feel like a seafood boil, like just to have that like as like one of the dishes, like I feel like that's very unique. Personally, would I try it? Probably, just like for like a Thanksgiving type of meal, just throw it in there.
Yeah.
Definitely would be like the only thing I would eat. Maybe probably like a little bit of halfway there. But in terms of like just, I like to keep it a little traditional and throw in like a couple of those like weird dishes. I was
Okay.
actually doing some research on some weird dishes, right? And one that I actually want to try, it's called frog-eyed salad, right? And now it doesn't have any frogs in it, so we can kind of like, it's like yes, no frogs. But essentially, it's like kind of like it's like a weird dish. So you have like pineapple chunks, right? Mandarin oranges, marshmallows, and kind of like this creamy custard filling.
Yeah.
Almost like a little salad, right? And it's actually like, it sounds pretty good. It sounds like pretty sweet. You have all the fruits,
Yeah.
the custard. So you have like this, like the savory, like
The savory and the
sweetness,
sweet,
and then
right?
like the refreshing of the fruits.
Okay.
Kind of brings it all together.
Mhm.
So that's probably something I'm gonna try this year.
Okay.
But that's just one of those things that we're like kind of doing like the research on these.
Yeah, it's definitely
that
something to
sounded like
research.
interesting.
It'd probably have an interesting origin, right? Because
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like our traditional foods. It's not just some hearty meat, to fill you up. It's something unique. It has a bit of
Yeah, like
flair.
a refreshing kind of like side dish.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something to consider too, is that there's more than one culture
Mhm.
for Thanksgiving, so you don't have to just go with the traditional stuff sometimes if you want to go out and adventure a little bit. And, I doubt it would harm you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually had frog-eyed salad before because that's one of the Mormon salads as I was mentioning. And there's a wide variety of Mormon salads. Frog-eyed salad is one. That's probably one of the more palatable ones.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I would be okay with eating. But they have a whole slew of like ridiculous stuff that they eat. It's not a salad in the sense that you're getting like vegetables or whatever. It's like they put just random combinations of jello, marshmallows, whipped cream, sometimes mayonnaise in there too with fruit. Is not, in my opinion, I don't agree with it.
Yeah, probably not the mayonnaise. I'm like mayonnaise. I don't
Well, it
know.
depends. Them sometimes the flavors that they combine are really crazy. But
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, at least with the frog eye salad, like how they were kind of coming together. That seems like it'll be like nice and sweet.
Yeah.
Not like any two like mayonnaise and then like fruits and peas and just like I don't know.
Yeah.
Personally, I've never had too many dishes like that. That just seems like something that I would want to try though.
yeah, I feel like that stuff kind of arose out of this. There's this kind of trend in the 50s and 60s to like make a bunch of jello.
Yeah.
Or that sort of thing, or to make like salads but with jello. And one of them is I'm kind of scared to try it, but I did make some for y'all, so we're gonna get to try it. It's called aspic. Now, aspic, I thought it looked immensely gross, but that just piqued my curiosity. And apparently, I read like there's this cookbook from 1375. People were eating aspic in like medieval Europe. There's like records of people saying, they had like this aspic, like a garnet from the Arabian world. It was like eaten in the Mediterranean. Like it used to be like a common food that people would eat.
Yeah.
Especially like up until the 18th century. I mean, if you think about it, like gelatin comes from animals, right?
Yeah.
Like there's agar and whatnot, but like
Yeah.
Kind
Gelatin.
of like the OG.
Yeah, the gelatin that we know is like derived from animals, from boiling collagen, right? So it is kind of weird that now we associate Jello as like this sweet, kind of like subtle.
A sweet treat, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But like another one of the forgotten foods, and the 19th century, so like the 1800s, but a bit later, started to become really popular in Europe, and again, it transferred to America. So even though people were like eating it, kind of, it wasn't super popular. But eventually, it got really prized for like how the cook should show off and everything. Like there's some really crazy presentations. I saw this one where the chef was like holding it up. There was a whole boiled lobster on top of this like mound of aspic that had like 5 different meats and vegetables inside, and then there was like a sword stabbed through the head of the lobster into. So there's a lot of stuff that you can come up with. I feel like maybe we should bring a bit of that whimsy back. Now, Granted, I haven't actually tried the aspic yet that I'm about to feed y'all. I made sure it's not poisonous, but it's not like. What I'm thinking is like there's definitely a way that it could work. Like if you season it enough or you put the right things in there, I think it could work.
Yeah.
And there's like it's also good because it's like you're not gonna make it every day. It became really popular when gelatin packets became a thing, but like for a while it was something that was really laborious, so it was actually reserved for celebrations, right? Because it was reserved for celebrations, I feel like it's like the perfect thing to add, and it's really common in like Eastern Europe and East Asia as well. Like they have versions of it from China and Vietnam and like all these different places. The one that I made is based on coladets, which is like the pork version basically. So hopefully when we try it, we don't die. But I just thought it was like a really unique
Yeah.
thing that used to be at Thanksgiving, but I feel like most people, if they saw that on the table, it'd be kind of like you with chitterlings. They'd probably like leave. They might even shoot you
Yeah.
Yeah.
for trying to feed it to them.
Yeah. Let's try like paint a picture almost, right? So like like what it looks like.
So imagine like this clear. I mean, obviously you can mold it in any shape that you want, really, because
Yes.
it's basically Jello. But imagine that you put a pot down, you throw in basically all of like the bones, and I think they used to use like pig trotters and that sort of
Oh,
thing,
man.
like head bones, neck
delicious.
bones, that sort of thing. I only had access to neck bones from the commissary, but
Yeah.
they worked. So you just put all of that stuff and a bunch of meat in for a while. You boil it for a long time. You skim the scum off, and then you filter it a few times. I wasn't able to get it clarified, but it's supposed to be clarified so that you can see everything very clearly. So you know, it's like a nice little. When it sets, you put all of your stuff that you want in there, pour it layer by layer, and then when it sets, it's like a beautiful little shape of whatever shape you chosen. I went with a dome, so just imagine like a beautiful dome of like all sorts of vegetables and meat just like floating in there, and it jiggles when you touch it.
Oh, got a little jiggle to it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely like excited to try it. You know,
Yeah.
I know we got some pumpkin pie too.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see what that's all about.
Yeah. You put
Man.
poison in the pumpkin pie to
Yes.
spice it up a little bit.
Just spice it up a bit, you know,
Yeah.
throw some.
It's a big pumpkin pie. I'm
Oh,
excited.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Like Costco-sized pumpkin pie.
The three best places to go for Thanksgiving, to buy stuff is the commissary, Costco, and Sam's Club.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
places are reliable. You get a lot of stuff for a small price,
Yep.
fraction of the price. It works.
Let's see. Do I have anything else to add? Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Well, just kind of talking about Thanksgiving though. For me, like I said, it is a special event, and just like I'll like doing the research about it. Most families like throughout the year don't eat dinner with each other. You know, they don't sit down at the dinner table. You know, everybody gets a plate. You know, and the whole setup, right? And I just feel like having at least that one day out the year where not only just immediate family, but extended family, friends, neighbors, you guys can come together and enjoy. It's actually like less than 30% of families that eat dinner together, throughout the year. And so it just seems so special to me because family is like a big thing for me. The way I grew up, I love my family and I would do anything for them, So just being around them more often, it's just so beautiful. And that's why Thanksgiving is actually my favorite holiday. I know people like, Christmas for the gifts and, Valentine's Day, Easter, Halloween for dressing up, which they're all fun, but I just feel like Thanksgiving really has something special there, like a family tied meaning, community meaning. It's just, it honestly is something special,
It really is, yeah.
It's a holiday's holiday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I like how it's not nearly as like commercialized.
Man, and that's what makes me mad. It's like, we have, spooky ghosts, pumpkins.
You think we should commercialize it?
I feel like we
yeah.
should.
Oh,
People
man.
are gonna be celebrating Thanksgiving as early as like August if that's the case.
Man, it's
You
like
know, Thanksgiving is like the only bulwark holding Christmas back from
It's
Halloween.
It's the only thing that can even pretend to stop Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas
Yeah.
comes in the day after Halloween ends. It comes in like a
Man,
wave and knocks
it's like,
everything
it's
out.
like soon as Halloween's over,
Yeah.
Christmas lights. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I'm like, you go to the stores, Christmas stuff, trees. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm like, Thanksgiving is in like 3 weeks.
And the
We gotta
neighbors
eat.
look at you
I'm like, can
and
we
they
get a
see those
turkey?
Halloween lights. They're
So
like,
you
what are you
think-
doing? We
You
gotta
think
go
if
with
we-
Christmas.
If we commercialize a bit more, people will pay more attention to it.
Yeah,
Probably, you know, and that's what I'm saying.
Maybe.
Like, it'll kind of bring like that sense of community back to the world, because I just feel like a lot of people, in and of itself, like especially due to like COVID, right? You know,
Yeah.
the quarantine. People aren't social anymore, you know,
No,
and
they
it really
aren't.
shows. Like,
Yeah.
just going through school, like
Certainly.
my sophomore year is actually when we had quarantine when it first started.
Mhm.
Coming back from that, you know, beforehand everybody's cool, you know, everybody knows each other, even if you're not directly friends, you're
Yeah.
still able to talk to people, be associates. And just coming back from that, it was like nobody talked to each other, nobody were hung out anymore. Like the malls were empty. You go to like amusement parks, any park, like it was just dead, you
It
know.
really
and,
was. Yeah.
and I just feel like kind of bringing some of that sense back of community and
Exactly. Yeah.
you know, just something there, you know. And I feel like we can start with a holiday like Thanksgiving, where it already has those roots of community building.
It does. It has those traditions that are ingrown, and it's not something that you have to do necessarily with family. So perhaps for people who don't have a large family, you can make your own family, right?
Exactly.
You have friends.
You know, and they have Friendsgiving too.
Exactly,
Right?
yeah,
So
that.
like not just Thanksgiving,
That's
which
really
is like more
important.
of a family thing. You know, people do Friendsgiving. I believe, what is it, the Wednesday before or the Friday after? I'm
I
not
think,
sure of
yeah,
the day,
I
but
think it might
it
be
doesn't
Wednesday.
really matter.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a sense of that community building.
It's a gathering,
Yeah,
right?
a gathering of people that are going to eat together. And you know, for Friendsgiving, people bring all types of food. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving. I've seen people, you know, they just bring their cultural food. I went to one where we had enchiladas and lumpia in the
Yeah.
same, you know, the
Oh,
same
yeah.
dish, you know. So
Mhm.
it's all over the place, you know. And I just
Yeah.
feel like that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like we're nearing the end. Does anybody have any last thoughts before we kind of head up out of here?
Well, I think the one thing that we can say is we're in Fairfield,
Yeah.
and thanks to that, we have so many different options to try,
Yeah.
and we have a large, diverse selection for our menu, right? And our table is not going to be empty this year. We
Oh,
got
yeah.
plenty of things to choose from. I
Yes.
think that really rounds us out, and as a community.
Okay. Yeah. You doing good over here, Isaac?
Basically.
Okay, Rudy. Anything else?
Basically the same thing.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I feel like that's it for us. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was the Four Corners Podcast. My name is Kamari Johnson. Right. We have Isaac, Brevin, and Rudy. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys all have a great Thanksgiving.
Hell yeah, let's
See you
get
next
this
time. Let's get to it.
That's
Three.
good too. Yeah. Oh boy.
The exponential growth from the program from my first year to my third year now, that's what keeps me coming back and keeps me excited and just like fulfills me as a person.
It's so impressive, and we every time we walk in here, you guys are doing something different. It's great. It's great.
Nothing but opportunities here, and we have sports to cover, we have the equipment.
Because the more ambitious you are, the more opportunities you'll have.
On-the-job training is huge.
You get the hands-on experience.
When someone asks who can do it, you know, you can raise your hand and say, I can do it. So.
Joining the class was the best decision I ever made.
Stand by, we're going to go to cut one. And cut one.
Cross court to Audrey Jones. Audrey for three. It is good! With 1.3 seconds left on the game clock. Audrey Jones with one of the biggest shots.
The sky's the limit, really, with what we can do here.
College just got affordable. Up to 100% of enrollment fees can be reimbursed for first-time college students taking full-time classes. At Solano Community College, we are taking full advantage of this to further your future. With certificate and degree programs in industrial technology, aeronautics, biotechnology, and many others, Solano Community College is a staple for success. For more information, please contact the Financial Aid Office at 707-864-7000.